in October, right about this time, 2008, that would be 12 years ago, for $1,709. And then, Mr. Neal, was your position that for many, many years, nothing happened at all? Or what was going on?
I originally didn't know about the debt. I originally thought it was fraudulent activity because it's not on my credit report, and I cleaned up my credit, everything that was on my credit. But when I talked to somebody from their company, the lady told me it was from 2001, and the original creditor was Capital One. So that's when I remember it was a credit card that I had in my early 20s. So I just didn't know. I just didn't know anything about it. Then subsequently, I moved from Saginaw to Grand Rapids around 2008, 2009, and stayed with my sister for a period of time, like 6 months. Then I moved out. Now, evidently, that's where they sent the notice to go to court at. And
I see.
he didn't tell me, so that's why they got a default judgment. I didn't show up. It's not that I just disregarded it. I actually didn't know.
Right. Okay. When they garnished the PNC Bank, is that where you had your bank account?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And then when you're objecting to the garnishment, what is the money in the bank account that you're claiming is exempt?
Unemployment compensation.
All unemployment compensation?
Yes, ma'am.
And is that all through COVID?
Yes, yes.
What about before COVID?
Well, before COVID, last year I was working as a high-low driver for a place called Omni, and I ended up breaking my wrist December 19th of last year. So I didn't get anything but workman's comp, and that started at the end of January for like 2 months at $113 a week. So that basically paid my car insurance and gas in my truck and little knickknacks for my son to eat off of because we were in a rescue mission. I couldn't afford any rent.
Right now, was PNC holding all this money?
Yes, yes. That was for when I moved into my place. It was going to be for my furniture and his bed and stuff.
And that's like a little under $3,300.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Neal, what is your position as it relates to trying to resolve this matter, and your position as it relates to unemployment money only?
Well, he just offered to resolve it. He wanted to split it down the middle.
Yeah.
There's some.
That's your best way to handle it, Mr. Neal, because the options that are available are, from your perspective, like you'd say, okay, for 12 years of this debt, nothing was ever paid.
Mm-hmm.
And I get that you moved, and I get that you had different addresses, and I get that you're saying you didn't know that it was even about the Capital One account.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Beach, are you there?
Yes, I am, Your Honor.
What is the total amount that the bank is holding right now? Is about $3,200?
Yeah, they're holding the I don't know how much they had in the account, but they're holding the whole garnishment amount, the $3,216 and change.
Okay. And your offer is to split it in half.
I was willing to split it in half, and I told them I'd satisfy the judgment too.
Well, there's got to be a satisfaction of the judgment from Mr. Neal's perspective if this gets resolved, because he needs to have the satisfaction of judgment. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's like I said, there's $3,297 owing. We'll take half of that, which will be $1,608, and we'll waive the other almost $1,700 or $1,685.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Mr. Neal, I think that's your best approach, quite frankly, to be honest with you. This case would be completely over. You'd get a satisfaction of this judgment that goes way back. You'd get the half of your money from the bank back to you. Mm-hmm. The debt gets paid and the case is over.
Yes, that's fine.
The other option is, even though you're talking about the unemployment pay, if if the asset acceptance, who stood in the shoes of the Capital One bank account, tried to collect the entire amount, you know, and I was hoping we could just go back to what the judgment was, even though for 12 years they've been charging you interest, ching, 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 it adds up to more than what you even borrowed, you know? Yeah. What was your question?
Well, that was what I was speaking with him about. They already collected over $1,105.52. So splitting it down the middle will still give them an extra 1,000 over the original judgment anyway.
Right. And part of that is because for 12 years there was nothing done on it.
I'm cool with that. I'm fine with that. Like I said, I've been trying to get my
Okay.
credit cleaned up.
Right.
All I owed
Okay.
was this. So
I
this will
get
take
ya.
care of the last thing.
Yeah, I get you. Well, I really appreciate you zooming in and zooming in again so that we could hear you better. And what I'd tell you to do, Mr. Beach, is prepare the order so that the garnishment is released by half. The other monies are released to Mr. Neal, and there's a complete satisfaction of the judgment. Mr.
You want
Beach,
that
are
all
you
in
with
one
me?
Yeah, do you want that all in one order, or you want a separate satisfaction? Because I
I want both. I want it in the order, and then I want a separate satisfaction so that he can have that separate.
Okay. I can draft that order, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just writing notes to myself.
Yep, that's fine. And the satisfaction of the judgment, Mr. Neal, will then be verification that this is completely over with and done. Your credit goes back. You can present that to them if you want with your credit rating and whatever. Okay?
Judge, do you want me to fax that
Let
order
me give
over, or
you-
how do you want me to do it?
Yeah, you can just send it over to us under the 7-day rule.
Oh, the 7-day rule? Okay.
That's fine. Let me give you Mr. Neal's address because he's got a different address in Saginaw than what we had.
Is it
It's
32?
1135 Dillon Street.
How do you spell Dillon?
D as in dog, Illon.
Okay.
Mr. Neal, do I have that right?
Yes.
Okay, 1135 Dillon Street, Saginaw, Michigan, 48601.
Okay.
Okay. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Mr. Beach, is your first name Michael?
Yes, it is.
Okay. All right, then expect to get some paperwork in the mail, Mr. Neal, and we'll get the order to the PNC Bank so they can release that money to you as soon as possible. That's what I'd like to do.
Okay. Thank you, Your Honor.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Beach.
Thank you.
Okay.
Have a good day.
All right, thank you. Is it Mr. Browning? Mr. Browning, can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay.
I could hear you. I
Yep.
was not.
That's all right, you were muted.
Right,
What case
exactly.
are you on? What case are you on, Mr. Browning?
Frederick Brandt.
Okay.
I am expecting him shortly. Maybe he didn't
That's
have
fine.
the password. Yes.
We're a little bit early on that one, so that's fine.
Okay, right.
And is it Ms. Francis?
Yes.
Okay. Hold on one second if you would.
Okay.
Tell me again? Yep, it's the same one. Was Mr. Brandt gonna just hook in by Zoom, Mr. Browning?
Yeah, he's coming by Zoom. That's correct. I just
Okay.
texted him the phone number.
Okay.
Hope I got it right. Oh,
He's
here we
coming in
go.
right now. He's
There
coming
he
in
is.
right now. Okay, Mr. Brandt, can you hear us okay?
I'll give him
Connecting.
yeah, maybe in a minute he'll have it.
Mr. Brandt, can you hear us? Now, Mr. Browning, maybe you can give him a message or call him and tell him to connect to audio,
Okay.
because it doesn't look like he can hear us.
Although I don't know if he'll get this if he's using his phone.
I don't know. I don't think he's on the phone.
It does look like a laptop based on
Yeah, it looks like a computer.
okay.
Now he's off. It's a new world for a lot of us with this Zoom. Of course, we're all learning. It's
Right.
amazing to me how much we can get done, though. We're getting a lot done.
We're becoming Zoom experts. Oh, he said he cannot hear you.
Right, we know that.
Yeah, he
I'm
can hear
gonna. If you send him a message, Mr. Browning, tell him to join audio.
you. Okay.
Or the
Looks
other
like he's
option is for,
joined now, but just muted.
you're good. Okay. Mr. Brandt, can you hear us now?
Yes, ma'am. I apologize.
No,
I had
don't apologize. That's fine. It takes a bit to get used to all of this.
I had my 6-year-old granddaughter trying to show me how.
That's about how it is. It's, you gotta have the other generation help us figure it out. Okay, I'm Judge Sara Smolenski, and
Morning.
this is on file C011724GC. It's the case of Hirschberg Acceptance versus Frederick Brandt. And we have Attorney Francis that's here for the Hirschberg Acceptance. And we have Attorney Browning here for Mr. Brandt. And the case goes back to 2001, which is every bit of 19 years ago. And I'm not entirely clear what the original debt was. What the original debt was or who it was through, because Hirschberg Acceptance just took over the debt. Did they not, Ms. Francis?
They did, Your Honor.
Do you know who the original debt creditor was?
I do not, Your Honor.
Uh-huh. This was an objection that Mr. Brandt filed, and it might have been before you were involved, Mr. Browning, I'm not sure. But the objection was to the garnishment because Mr. Brandt is saying that all the money that has been in this account has been as a result of unemployment funds. And that then the unemployment funds are not garnishable. The original debt was about just under $10,000. I don't know, Mr. Brandt, if this was a credit card debt or what kind of a debt it was originally.
Ma'am, I have never had a credit card in my life. I have never had a loan in my life.
You never had a what?
A loan of any type in my life. This is the third time in my life in 60 years I've had a bank account.
Uh-huh.
I have no idea who Hirschberg is, what this is.
Right.
And all this money, I got laid off because of the COVID. I went to pay my rent and I had zero money. I mean, literally zero. They put on this savings like I was going to go build a swimming pool. This was my checking account that I opened to pay my bills. I have no money. I had to borrow
Right.
$50 to have my phone turned on for my 85-year-old mother.
Yeah. Well, then what we need to do is find out the origin of it, because you're talking about a situation where they're an assignor, where they took over the debt from some other entity. And I don't know how far back you can look, Ms. Francis, to find that out. But it's worth looking into from that perspective. I don't know if it was a car loan. I don't know what they're talking about it was. But the issue right here is if the judgment was good, and of course Mr. Brandt questions that, if the judgment was good and Hirschberg has a chance to collect it, and they filed the garnishment, and they connected with the with Mr. Brandt's American One Credit Union in Jackson or wherever it was, and they're holding the money. So right now this figure is being held over $3,000, and we're all trying to figure out exactly what's going on. Mr. Browning, how did you get involved?
Good morning. I work for legal aid. Mr. Brandt contacted legal aid after he received this from the court, this notice of hearing, or no, I'm
Yep.
sorry, the notice of garnishment, and then he asked for the hearing. So he actually did the legwork and the filing on this, which kind of surprised me. He contacted us and then he went ahead and finished it, and it's well done. There are really two problems here as far as Mr. Brandt and I see it. Number one, he doesn't think that he owes this money. Number two, supposing he did, which he doesn't, it shouldn't have been garnishable having been unemployment funds.
Although it isn't recognizable when you're garnishing for a credit union what the funds are until you're told. I mean, there's no way to really know what's in there. I realized that Mr. Brandt had filed many of his deposit documents indicating, that they're unemployment monies and whatnot. Okay, but what does legal aid do to research it or investigate the origin of the debt, or don't you, Mr. Browning?
Well, now that we have an attorney on the other side, I didn't see that in the filing. Now we're going to have to find out what exactly debt this is. And
Yeah.
if Mr. Brandt really didn't owe it, have they got the wrong Frederick Brandt? Is there some other reason? Because he just has no idea, can't think of what this was from. And yeah, our intention is to get to the bottom of what money this was. Maybe someone stole his identity and took out a credit card, or maybe someone got the name on a loan wrong, or maybe he, whatever it is. That's what we would like to do, is we would like to get to the bottom of what this debt is. Yes. And
Ms.
then
Francis, thank you, Mr. Browning. Ms. Francis, when you get the paperwork and Hirschberg actually starts the process to even go forward with the garnishment, what kind of documentation do you get on the original assignment?
Your Honor, as you stated, this is from 2001. We have been on this case since prior to that. The original creditor would have been on the complaint. I'm waiting for my office to state what it was.
So, I mean, is there the option when you say you've been on it since before that? Your position is your firm has been on this for the whole 19 years?
I believe so, Your Honor. We've done garnishments on this. We've actually attached garnishments previously for state tax refunds in 2002. We filed it 2002, 2003, 2004, 2005, 2006, 2013, and 2016. So he never objected then. He's trying to attack the underlying judgment through an objection to garnishment, which the court rules do not allow. So, Your Honor, this has gone past the point of the defendant trying to attack the underlying judgment, as we have already collected funds on this and he didn't object then, so he's known about it.
This is what I
my
want to get.
office is saying it is, it says it was household. It would have been in the complaint. I don't have the complaint, and I
Okay,
don't know if
let's
the
do
court
this.
still has it.
I get it. I get that you're trying to read email that people are sending you now, Ms. Francis. What I want to do is I want a history of the payments and garnishments, the chronology of what you're talking about, Ms. Francis. I want that sent to Mr. Browning so that he can review it with Mr. Brandt. I'm not going to make a decision on this yet. I'm not going to turn the money over right now. I'm going to just wait. The garnishment is in place. I haven't ruled on the objection, technically speaking. I want a history. And I want your client, Mr. Browning, to provide whatever history he has. Because what Ms. Francis is saying, if it's a different Frederick Brandt, would help us understand more as to the history and origin of the debt and of the garnishments that have been in place over the last 19 years. Because we can't have it both ways. We can't have it, never heard of it before, versus 7 or 8 garnishments that have paid toward the debt from Mr. Brandt directly. So I want a history of it, Ms. Francis. I know that will take some time. I want you to do the legwork to get the original complaint. I'd like to see the original complaint. Even in our court file, going back 19 years, we did not have the original physical file. It may be on microfiche. I'm not positive. I've been here 30, so I would have been here when this case was started. But we physically, I'm in the same position that Ms. Francis is, as we recreated a new collections file, but I do not have the original complaint. So Ms. Francis, whatever you can find, there will be no decision on this yet. I'll just say under advisement. The court wants a history from both of you. I don't prevent either one of you from providing the court with some documentation on this so that both sides can look at it and analyze it and investigate it. And I'm going to reschedule. I'm just saying 3 weeks out. I don't know the exact date.
Your Honor,
But go ahead.
I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
Your Honor, we don't have the original complaint. Have the records. They don't exist that far back anymore. I do have the defendant's social. And if he can,
I'll just stick right now to getting whatever information you can get to recreate the history of what your involvement has been. And if your involvement has been since the beginning, whatever that is, files or no files. Obviously, it would be helpful to know the underlying creditor because that's part of the concern that we have. It's not mandatory that we have it, but I do want to find that out because if there have been multiple garnishments from tax garns, I'd want to find out what Mr. Brandt's take on that is as well. But just put together the history as I've asked. Get that, Ms. Francis?
Yes, Your Honor. Also,
Mr.
Your Honor,
Browning?
you were referring to some statements that the defendant attached. We only received the 1 page of the actual
Okay.
objection
So,
form.
Mr. Browning,
Yes.
I don't know whether you got copies, everything from the state of Michigan card, debit card, to every cash advance slip. I think there must have been I don't know, I didn't count them, 7, 8, 9 of them. And
7.
copies of what looks like, from his cell phone, copies from his savings account showing a zero balance, that he must have taken a picture of the front of his phone, that I've got. But all I'm asking, Mr. Browning, is that whatever documents were provided to the court, while Mr. Brandt did a good job putting his own paperwork together, and I appreciate that as well, it needs to be sent to the plaintiff as well, plaintiff's attorney.
Yes, Your Honor, I don't have those copies yet, but now I will get them from Mr. Brandt, organize them, and send them to
Perfect.
plaintiff's attorney. Your Honor, I would like to ask, and this is really a question best answered by the plaintiff's attorney here. If, my client is saying that he doesn't have any more money left in the bank account. Now, do the plaintiffs see this as subject to further garnishment? Like, if we don't do anything about it, are they going to keep taking more? What's the entire amount? And if
Right
so,
now, yeah, go ahead.
yeah, and if so, can we have a stop to that for the time being?
I have no income.
Your Honor, this
Yeah.
was just a non-periodic bank garnishment, so it's just a one-time hit. And now we're trying to resolve that issue.
Right,
The
and I'll
current
make a note
balance-
that I'll make a note that I want all garnishments on this particular account to be stopped until we get our final resolution, because on the original objection to the garnishment, which is what this motion is about, I've not made a decision, it's under advisement. So I would request on your part, Ms. Francis, that you let the representatives know that all garnishments at this point would stop until we get this part resolved, and then we'll move from there.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, anything else, Mr. Browning?
No, I don't think so. I'll speak with Mr. Brandt about what was going on with those tax returns.
Right, you talk to him separately, you guys discuss it, and then once you get the history, like I've asked that Ms. Francis is gonna prepare, I mean, I think that should shed a whole lot more light onto what we're talking about and help us all understand what's going on.
Yes,
Okay,
certainly.
that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Yep.
Sorry,
Thank
do
you for hooking in, Mr. Brandt.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yep. Thank you for
The
zooming in.
Adjourn date, will we just receive that by mail, Your Honor?
You'll receive it by the clerk. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Wood, can you hear me? Okay, Ms. Richter,
Yes, Your Honor.
what's the case that you're zooming in on?
Portfolio recovery versus Ronquella Wallace.
Okay, we should be getting Ms. Wallace on the Zoom here in a minute. It's set for 9:15, which we're just past that now. She did zoom in last time at our first hearing at the end of September, and we all talked a bit. Were you part of that, or was it somebody else from your office?
It was me, Your Honor.
Okay, sorry, I didn't remember right off the bat. And I remember that Ms. Wallace was part of the Zoom, and she was thinking that there was verification of payments that were made. It was your motion for summary disposition at the time. I rescheduled the motion for summary disposition so that she could provide paperwork of any verification of payments, and I asked that she submit those within 2 weeks. Have you seen any of that?
No, Your Honor, I have not received anything from Ms. Wallace, I guess now known as Ms. Skinner. I did have my client reach out to Fifth Third to verify the account, and my client communicated with Fifth Third, and the amount that is stated stands both from Fifth Third's records and from my client's records.
Okay. And did you ever go into a private chat room with Ms. Skinner and talk at all, Ms. Wallace Skinner?
Your Honor, I don't recall specifically if I
Okay.
did or
My reason to inquire was to see if you had her telephone number or any contact number.
Let me see here. Your Honor, I do have a number. I can't guarantee 100% it's her current number, but I can tell you what I have on file.
Okay, hold on one second, because we're streaming live. Can you just